The best weapon I've ever used for my soul is forgiveness. There are people that I can forgive, but they wouldn't be allowed on my property. Can I share my
Absolutely.
hardest person I ever had to forgive?
Yes, please do.
My stepfather. When you know how much you've been forgiven by God, and he's just like, just be willing to give up your right to hurt him back. I tell people, I love weapons. You know, from wanting to be one to use them, the best weapon I've ever used for my soul is forgiveness. And we have to define it. We as a culture don't really know what forgiveness is. The best definition I can give is forgiveness is giving up your right to hurt someone back for hurting you.
I've never heard of it put like that.
We're not minimizing the offense. We're not giving people a pass. We're not saying, oh, it's okay. No. That person is guilty, dead to rights. We're not navigating around justice, because there are some people I've forgiven, and even for abuse for someone else, but there's a justice piece. There's consequences for your actions. There are people that I can forgive, but they wouldn't be allowed on my property because there's zero trust. Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation sometimes. But forgiveness is giving up our right to hurt someone back for hurting us.
I struggle a lot with forgiveness.
Of course.
And, I don't... It's hard to let things go, but what I am realizing is that forgiveness is for you, because the person you're forgiving probably doesn't really give a shit if you forgive them or not. It's the internal rage that goes away when you do learn how to forgive.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the recipe is other than time.
Well, there's different. Can I share my
Absolutely.
hardest person I ever had to forgive?
Yes, please do.
My stepfather. It was later in life, and I was traveling, speaking. I used to work for a Dr. James Dobson, who he is an OG legend on family psychology. There's no one out there that has been better than him. He was the early Peterson, 70s, 80s. But I worked with him, and he was a boss. Then he became a mentor, and then became a friend. And he's actually still alive. He's in his 80s. I'm speaking next month for an event with him. But I was traveling for him, and I passed through this little town in Mississippi. And I was like, this is how compartmentalization works. I'm driving through this little town called Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and I went, oh my gosh, this is where we lived. This is where we escaped from him. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I felt God's Spirit bring me peace and say, you need to find him and just visit with him. I'm like, and I know he was still alive. He went to prison, and he escaped a federal penitentiary in the state of Alabama, fled the country. He was never caught. they end up, years later, he turned himself back in, did his time. So I called my half-sister and I said, hey, is your dad in this area? She goes, yeah. She's like, you gonna see him? I said, I feel like God wants me to. So got his information. He was living in a little trailer on a river. Poor as everything. This is a guy who had wealth before, he was in the oil and gas business, and then, his brother was a prominent attorney in Jackson, Mississippi. So he wasn't, to give people a visual, he was a learned, educated, man, degreed, did counterintelligence. His favorite read was Hemingway, and he was the pedophile. So I went and found him. I knocked on his door. And he opened this little trailer door. He was shocked because I wasn't this kid anymore. I was a full-grown man.
How old were you?
At that time, I was in my 30s, like late 30s. And dialed in, like...
How much time had lapsed since you'd seen him last?
Oh, I would say 20 years. Yeah. 20 years since I'd seen him, I believe. And so, he's like, hey, what are you doing here? I said, I just felt like I was supposed to come visit you. And instantly poured a drink. And he had done his time. He had actually had open heart surgery. I could see a scar. Fresh, like really fresh. And you know what he tried to do right away? He tried to intimidate me.
Really?
This man's like 70 now. And he goes, you know how easy it is to kill a man with a wire, Victor? Because... remember the cadaver? He's like cutting the cadaver's head off. So I know he's trying to trigger me. And I'm like, And he tries to say a couple of things. And then I'm standing in his house by a wall. He has like a basketball. He grabs it and he fires it at my head. I'll never forget. He just boom, and he goes, boom. I'm like, look here. I ain't no kid anymore. I don't know what you're trying. I'm a full-grown ass man, Marine, master martial arts. I'm like, man, I could make you go away. So stop with all the head trips and that doesn't work for me anymore. And I was thinking, I'll unzip you, push you in that river. And I guarantee you, no one, with our history, no one would have blamed me. I probably, especially in that area, they probably never would have pressed charges. But again, I could feel like God's spirit on me. That's what's supernatural about all this. Because there's some people you can't forgive. Emotionally, rationally, it's impossible. He's one of them. But that's a supernatural. When you know how much you've been forgiven by God, and he's just like, just be willing to give up your right to hurt him back for hurting you. Just be willing, and I'll give you the power. I'll give you the supernatural strength. So the conversation didn't go great. I ended up giving him $100 because I felt like God's spirit told me, give him money. I'm like, I got a young family. There's $100 in my pocket. I literally need for diapers and milk. And again, now I'm resisting God's spirit, what I believe is God's spirit, to obey. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I took out the money and said, it's for you. He goes, boy, you don't owe me nothing. And I was already like ready to explode. I'm like, I never said I owed you anything. God told me to give this to you. So here. And then this little moment happened. He goes, boy, I didn't know I was going to eat tonight.
Hey everybody, I'm Shawn Ryan. Click here to subscribe to the Shawn Ryan Show YouTube channel for the hottest and most compelling interviews that you will not see anywhere else. I've also made a playlist of all the previous SRS episodes so they're easy to find. You can find that right here.